The case I'm going to tell you about today took place in Osaka, located in the Kansai region of Japan. While the Kanto region represents modern economic power, Kansai is famous for its rich history. Osaka is the third largest city in Japan, known for its unique food culture and bustling commercial districts. The city features historic buildings, Osaka Castle, modern skyscrapers, a TV tower, and popular shopping and dining areas like Shinsaibashi, Dotonbori, and various gourmet streets offering a diverse array of delicious foods. Osaka is a vibrant city that attracts many tourists. With the rise of tourism, many locals rent out their vacant homes for short-term stays, offering guests homemade meals and other services. Numerous B&Bs, bed and breakfasts have sprung up. Compared to traditional hotels, these B&Bs are more affordable, allowing visitors to fully experience local culture. B&B stands for bed and breakfast, which refers to small, budget-friendly accommodations that provide an overnight stay and breakfast. Most B&B owners operate family-run businesses. In Osaka, many locals have developed personalized B&Bs based on various themes, such as hot springs, Japanese cuisine, and other local specialties. However, among the many B&Bs, there are also black B&Bs, where guests don't need to show identification to check in. These black B&Bs are less formal, with basic facilities and environments, but their relatively low prices make them popular with certain groups. The main character of the story is Saki Kondo. She was born in Himeji City, Hyogo Prefecture. Saki worked as a saleswoman at a parts manufacturing company in Mita City, Hyogo Prefecture, northwest of Osaka. In 2018, after a day of work, Saki left the office as usual. She said goodbye to her colleagues, packed her belongings, and left the company. That evening, after work, she took a train straight to Osaka. Upon arriving, she walked hand in hand with a man, and they headed in a certain direction before disappearing into the night. On Saturday, February 17, 2018, the Hyogo Prefectural Police received a call from a woman reporting that her daughter, Saki Kondo, had been missing for 2 days. Saki was known for her dedication to her job. When she failed to show up for work the previous day without requesting leave, and her supervisor was unable to reach her, they contacted her mother to check on her. Saki's mother, who lived in their hometown in Hyogo Prefecture, stayed in close contact with her daughter every day. After receiving the call from Saki's colleague, she became very worried. She immediately tried calling Saki's cell phone but couldn't get through. After waiting another day without hearing back, she grew increasingly anxious and felt something was wrong, so she decided to contact the police. Upon receiving the report, the police promptly launched an investigation. The missing person, Saki Kondo, a 27-year-old office worker, was employed in Mita City, Hyogo Prefecture. She had previously lived with her mother, older brother, and grandfather. Her father, who worked in metal processing, had been working in Thailand for an extended period. It was rare for him to have the opportunity to return home and reunite with the family. Almost every year, Saki's family planned a trip together to visit her father in Thailand. During these trips, Saki developed a strong desire to travel abroad. Determined to pursue her passion, Saki worked hard to improve her English, hoping to visit more countries in the future. Over the years, she attended a prestigious all-girls private school in Hyogo Prefecture. With excellent academic performance, she joined the school's brass band club and lived life to the fullest each day. From a young age, Saki placed great importance on language learning, particularly English. She made significant efforts and achieved a high level of proficiency, allowing her to read English magazines and watch English videos without any difficulty. After graduating from high school, she was accepted into a local university. With her strong English skills, she often spent her holidays traveling to European countries for short trips, where she made several international friends. After graduating, Saki started working early and went through a few job changes. 2 years ago, she secured a position as a saleswoman at a parts manufacturing company in Mita City. She then moved into the company's employee dormitory and began living independently. Saki was a warm and cheerful person. If she encountered a foreigner asking for directions while on the street, she was always kind enough to help. She often invited her foreign friends over to visit her home. At work, she was always willing and enthusiastic to assist her colleagues with any English-related issues they had. Saki was well liked by both her colleagues and family members. She was kind, friendly, intelligent, sensitive, and responsible, so she would never intentionally lose touch with the important people in her life. She lived a relatively simple life and seemed to hold no grudges against anyone. Her sudden disappearance left her family, friends, and colleagues deeply perplexed. The police then investigated Saki's social connections and uncovered a crucial lead from a friend. It turned out that Saki had told a friend on February 15th, the day she went missing, "I'm going on a date with an American after work. His name is Jay. I just met him online." This clue immediately caught the attention of the police. They compiled all the surveillance videos from relevant locations and streets to track Saki's movements after she left work. The footage revealed that a man, suspected to be Jay, was with her. On February 15th, 2018, the day after Valentine's Day, Saki left work and headed straight to a nearby train station. She took a train for about an hour to Morinomiya Station in Osaka. Around midnight, surveillance footage near the station showed her walking with a man. The two seemed close, displaying affectionate gestures, and were heading south. They looked like a couple. The surveillance system eventually tracked Saki and the man entering a hotel not far from the train station. They stayed at a B&B. However, in the following days, the surveillance footage only showed the man repeatedly entering and leaving the B&B, but Saki was not seen again. The man in the footage had a tall, slender build and kept his face fully covered. Surveillance video showed him wearing black clothing, including black pants, a black short jacket, and black short boots. He also wore a black baseball cap, a white face mask, and a pair of dark sunglasses, completely obscuring his face. It seemed like he was trying to hide something. Additionally, for reasons unknown, he was always seen carrying a large backpack when entering and leaving the premises, which looked quite suspicious. The B&B they stayed at was located in the Higashi-Sumiyoshi district of Osaka. It was an old 3-story building. The exterior white walls appeared to have not been cleaned for a long time, showing signs of yellowing. The walls had several low rectangular windows. The police managed to track down the owner of the B&B, hoping he still had a record of the guests who checked in at that time. However, unfortunately, it turned out to be a black market B&B. While it was listed for rent on Airbnb, a popular home rental app, it didn't have a proper business license. This meant that guests could book a room through the app without providing their real identity. As a result, the police were unable to determine the identity of the suspicious man. The police then shifted their focus back to the surveillance footage to track down the suspect. At that time, road surveillance systems were quite advanced and had a high coverage rate in the cities. The suspect seemed to be focused only on disguising himself and hiding his identity, without much awareness of counter-surveillance measures, so his movements were relatively easy to trace through the video footage. The police quickly pinpointed his location. A few days after Saki's disappearance, the suspect had left Osaka and moved to several other B&Bs and was currently in Nara City. On February 22, 2018, a week after the disappearance, police arrested the suspect at a B&B in the area. The suspect was identified as Yevgeniy Vasilievich Bayraktar, born in 1991, a 27-year-old American tourist. He went by the name Jay online, the same person who had gone on a date with Saki. Jay was born in Odessa, Ukraine. His mother, Regina, was Ukrainian, and his father was Bulgarian, a professional doctor. When Jay was young, his parents divorced. Later, his mother met Benny Dacey, an engineer from the United States. They connected through a social networking site, specifically one that linked North American men with Eastern European women. After getting to know each other, Mr. Dacey fell in love with his mother. He personally traveled to Ukraine to bring her and Jay back to live with him. After returning to Texas, the two got married and started a new family life together. This is how Jay, then 9 years old, became an American citizen. Jay's stepfather treated him like his own son and cared for him with all his love. However, Jay never fully opened up to him. In his stepfather's eyes, Jay was very shy and always seemed to be just his mother's son. He had very few friends and didn't seem interested in expanding his social circle, only talking to his mother at home. No matter how much his stepfather cared, Jay chose to remain silent. On the other hand, it seemed that his mother had her own plans. After getting married and immigrating to the US, she began working towards obtaining a nursing degree. After several years of hard work and study, she achieved her dream and established herself in the United States. One day, she quietly took Jay and left Mr. Dacey. He searched tirelessly for them, but for a long time, there was no news. This caused him great heartbreak. Then, one day, he unexpectedly received a letter from his wife, Regina. Before he could feel any joy, he was left stunned. Regina had actually requested that he sign the divorce papers enclosed in the letter. It turned out that she had never truly loved him, but had only used him to become a legal U.S. citizen. After leaving Texas, she and her son moved to Long Island, New York, where she found a job using her nursing certification. Not long after, she met and fell in love with a local engineer. They eventually planned to get married. It was at this point that she realized she was still legally married to Mr. Dacey, whom she had long forgotten. So, she wrote to him, openly requesting that he sign the divorce papers. Upon reading the letter, Mr. Dacey finally understood everything. He realized he had merely been a means for her to immigrate to the United States. No longer wanting to hold on in vain, he was ready to sign the divorce papers. Afterward, Regina was free to marry her new love, as she had hoped. The two of them moved to a house in Mastic Beach and began the happy life they had long desired. In 2007, Jay enrolled at William Floyd High School in the area and excelled during his 4 years there. After graduating in 2011, he voluntarily enlisted in the military and successfully passed the exams. He joined the U.S. Air Force, as he had hoped. According to regulations, Jay was required to serve in the military for 4 years, but for reasons unknown, he was discharged after only 11 months and returned to his hometown in Long Island. In the time that followed, he led an idle life. Those who knew Jay were surprisingly unanimous in their assessment of him. They described him as quiet, shy, and reserved. He seemed to have a deep fascination with Japanese culture, always eager to visit Japan for vacations, and had traveled there more than 10 times. However, his purpose in going to Japan was not so simple. Beyond sightseeing, he also longed to find and love a gentle and virtuous Japanese woman. Anyone familiar with him knew that he had an unusual obsession with Japanese women. He had once confessed to a friend that he wanted to marry a Japanese wife. At the end of January 2018, Jay obtained a 90-day tourist visa and flew from the United States to Kansai, Japan. He planned to stay there for an extended period to enjoy a fulfilling experience. From this perspective, it's no surprise that Jay met Saki. However, when confronted with accusations regarding Saki's disappearance, Jay refused to admit anything, stating, "I don't know anything about her." With the surveillance evidence in hand, the police, of course, did not believe his denial. On the same day Jay was arrested, the police also obtained a search warrant from the court. A search was conducted at the B&B where the two had stayed, but the police did not find Saki inside, nor did they find any of her belongings or suspicious bloodstains in the worst-case scenario. So, what method did Jay use to make a living, breathing person suddenly disappear into thin air right before everyone's eyes? A sudden, ominous feeling began to take hold. The police realized that the chances of Saki still being alive somewhere were incredibly slim. It was possible that she had been murdered. Over the next 2 days, the police carefully searched the B&B again and also checked other B&Bs where the suspect had stayed in recent days. Finally, they found a crucial clue at one of these locations. The suspicious B&B was located at Hanazono Kita Onchome, Nishinari-ku, Osaka, just a 6 to 7 minute walk from the nearest station. It was a 3-story apartment building with gray exterior walls surrounded by scaffolding. It appeared to be under renovation. Like the others, this was also a black market B&B. The rooms were very simple, and the surrounding environment was not great. Staying here for a night cost only 230 yen, which is about 14 USD. Because of the low price, it was typically rented by night workers and laborers in the area. The owner of this B&B had a strong impression of Jay. He recounted, "A few days ago, a handsome foreign guest with a suitcase stayed at my B&B for one night. Foreign tourists are rare here, so I paid special attention to him. After observing the scene, several police officers accompanied the B&B owner to the room where Jay had stayed. As soon as they entered, they noticed a strange odor, a mix of something foul and an overpowering fragrance. The closer they got to the room, the more unbearable the smell became. When they opened the door, they found a small 6-square-meter room. The cramped space was barely enough for one person to lie down. The odor in the room was so strong that everyone present felt deeply uncomfortable. It didn't take long for them to discover a suitcase left behind in the room. It seemed to have been sprayed with a deodorizer, possibly in an attempt to mask some foul smell, but it had clearly failed. The investigators carefully approached and opened the suitcase. They were stunned when they found a decaying human head inside. The sight at the scene left many of those present shocked and horrified. DNA comparisons confirmed that the head belonged to Saki, who had been missing for nearly 10 days. Faced with this new evidence, Jay knew he could no longer deny the truth. Desperate, the perpetrator confessed everything, recounting how he had met Saki. Yet, even to the end, he repeatedly claimed, "I didn't mean to kill her." It turned out that while Jay was known to friends and family as a reserved and quiet person, he had a completely different persona online. Though he had deleted all his related accounts after the incident, the truth was uncovered through the recovery of his data records. Jay frequently used Tinder, a dating app with users worldwide, mainly young and middle-aged individuals. Users can upload photos of themselves, add their interests and skills, and introduce themselves to others. If two users show mutual interest, they can connect. Once connected, they can start chatting online. The app also supports location services, allowing users to connect with others nearby. Jay seemed to lack confidence in his appearance. He didn't post any real photos of himself on his profile. Instead, he found a picture online and used a more appealing online name, Jay. He had visited Japan multiple times and used the location suggestion feature of social media apps to connect and chat with local women, including Saki. He had been involved with nearly 10 Japanese women. Clearly unsatisfied with just chatting online, he tried every possible way to persuade them to go out and spend the night at a B&B to satisfy his desires. He was fascinated by a series of romantic encounters, engaging in one-night stands. In January 2018, Jay obtained a 90-day tourist visa for Japan and began his pursuit of beauty. This time, he chose the Kansai region, specifically selecting various black market B&Bs along the train line and frequently changing locations while meeting different Japanese women. On February 12, 2018, Jay checked into a B&B in the Higashikata ward of Osaka, planning to stay there for a week. During this time, he met Saki through a social app. Both Saki and Jay were the same age. Saki had a beautiful, delicate, gentle, and outgoing appearance, perfectly matching his ideal image of a Japanese woman. Saki also showed interest in the young foreign man. By chance, they successfully matched on the social app. Saki's English was excellent, and there were no communication barriers, so her enthusiasm quickly attracted Jay. After a while, they exchanged contact information and added each other as friends on Instagram. A few days after chatting, Jay wanted to invite Saki to Osaka. However, Mita, where Saki lived, was 50 kilometers away from Osaka, requiring more than an hour by train. She felt it was too soon to meet in person since they had just met, so she told him, "I'm busy with work and would like to get to know you better first." No matter how hard Jay tried to be persuasive or assertive, Saki still refused to meet. Fearing that his target might slip away, Jay felt the need to be more decisive. He pressured her by saying, "If you don't meet me, I'll come to your house." Hearing this, Saki found it difficult to refuse. He continued to push her. "I know where you work and where you live. If you don't agree to meet, I'll come to your house." After much consideration, Saki finally compromised. She promised Jay she would come to Osaka to meet him after work on Thursday. The day of their meeting quickly arrived. That day, after work, Saki took the train to Osaka's Morinomiya station. Jay was already waiting nearby. When Saki saw Jay in person, she was a bit surprised because he looked completely different from his profile picture on the social app. However, Jay was friendly and considerate. After a few pleasant exchanges, Saki let her guard down, and the two walked together toward the B&B, laughing and chatting closely. The next day was still a workday for Saki, so she planned to return to Mita early to be on time for work and had no intention of staying long. But she never imagined she would never get the chance to return. During the investigation, the police discovered that before Saki, there had been 4 to 5 other women who stayed at the same B&B with Jay. However, none of them were harmed. Saki was the only victim. Currently, finding the rest of Saki's remains had become the top priority. After several days of interrogation, Jay finally admitted to dismembering and disposing of Saki's body. However, he remained tight-lipped about what had happened at the B&B that night. On February 25, 2018, based on Jay's confession, the police went to the mountains near Osaka and entered the forest. After searching, they found a spot where the ground had been disturbed. There, the police discovered Saki's arm, and her torso was found not far away. On the same day, Saki's legs were found in a bamboo grove in Kyoto. No one could have imagined that Saki, who was so kind and enthusiastic, would meet such a tragic end. Her family was devastated after learning the news about their daughter. The forensic report indicated that Saki died from suffocation, but to this day, Jay still refuses to confess the truth. He appears very fearful and repeatedly tells the police, "I didn't mean to." The police speculate that the two may have had an argument at the B&B, during which Saki was accidentally killed by Jay. After realizing that Saki was no longer breathing, Jay became terrified. Once he calmed down, he started thinking of ways to cover up the incident, quickly turning off Saki's phone to prevent her family and friends from contacting her. He then logged out of their social media accounts to hide their connection. Finally, he searched the internet for various methods to dispose of the body and carried out his plan. The next day, Jay went out with a large bag on his back and purchased a saw and a bottle of deodorizer. He extended his stay at the room for a few more days and quietly dismembered Saki's body in the rented room. During the night, he disposed of her body parts in the mountains of Osaka and Kyoto. As for the head, the most easily identifiable part, he placed it in a suitcase and hid it in another B&B. To mask the odor, he sprayed a large amount of deodorizer in the room to prevent others from noticing. However, his efforts were ultimately futile. Strangely, Jay didn't seem to have any intention of fleeing Japan. When he was arrested, he was staying at a B&B in Nara. After the incident, he had ample time to escape and return to the US, but he didn't seem to have any such plans and continued his travels as planned. After hearing the news of his daughter's murder, Saki's father, who was far away in Thailand, hurried back to Japan. For the next year, he closely followed the developments of the case. He hoped the court would handle the case and severely punish the murderer to bring justice for his daughter. A year after the incident, in 2019, the case was tried at the Kobe District Court. Since it couldn't be proven that Jay had the intent to commit murder, he was ultimately convicted of 2 crimes: manslaughter and disposing of a body. Jay appeared gaunt in court. He continued to defend himself, insisting that he never intended to kill her, and pleaded for Saki's family to forgive him. He repeatedly apologized, saying, "I will carry the burden of this crime until the day I die." However, no one believed his words. Although his intent at the time of the crime couldn't be determined, his actions afterward showed no remorse. Instead of turning himself in, he tried to cover up the crime by deleting accounts, dismembering, and burying the victim's body. These were all deliberate, selfish, and callous acts. Due to the clear evidence, the trial proceeded swiftly. On January 22, 2019, the Kobe District Court officially convicted Jay of manslaughter and other charges, sentencing him to 8 years in prison. This sentence sparked outrage among many people. Saki's family felt deeply disappointed, believing that the punishment was too lenient for the killer and that the truth had not been fully revealed. The trial ended hastily. With Jay remaining silent and uncooperative, they may never know why their daughter was killed. It's worth noting that in the past 2 years, this was the 8th illegal incident involving the use of B&Bs in Japan. The severity of this case brought attention to the issue of black market B&Bs among relevant authorities. Following the incident, Japan has made efforts to regulate the B&B industry. Today, privately managed B&Bs are required to verify the true identity of their guests to prevent black market B&Bs from attracting tourists and becoming breeding grounds for crime. As of now, Jay has served 5 years of his sentence, and he will soon be released in 3 years. However, Saki, a young woman who once had a bright future and dreams of traveling the world, will never have the chance to fulfill those dreams. Finally, let's be cautious with social media. Sometimes it can be a double-edged sword that negatively impacts your life. That concludes today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye and take care.